Next round of the FA Cup with an emphatic win here at the Etihad Stadium against Graham Potter's Chelsea. It finished Manchester City 4, Chelsea 0. 3 goals in the first half, a goal in the second, and a really beautiful moment there from Phil Foden at full time, giving his shirt to a young fan. What a win, and I got to begin with the man who got the prediction, Bob, on the money.
Well, you know.
All in the day's work, Paul.
Absolutely. It was easy one, wasn't it?
You called it 4-0, and what a result and performance that was.
It was, in the first half performance especially. Second half it tempered out a little bit. Chelsea, for me, were really poor, but I thought we were fantastic and looked back to our best.
Yeah, absolutely. Esme, we've been saying kind of, if we look at the last few games at the Etihad, Brentford before the World Cup, Everton felt like we should have tried maybe come away with 3 points there. It does feel like we've started to maybe find that form again that we're so used to seeing with City.
Yeah, we looked so dominant, and in the second half just stayed composed, passed them to death. There was no way Chelsea were ever getting back into the game, and that's what Pep wouldn't have wanted. He wouldn't have wanted us to go for another 3-4 goals and leave ourselves open and concede. He wants to dominate and win games convincingly with clean sheets, and that's exactly what they did. Just executed it really well. It
was the perfect execution, and I guess as well the perfect response to those kind of results that didn't go our way. Also now we've got League Cup Southampton, then we got United in the Premier League, then it's going to be, either Arsenal or Southport in the fourth round. It's important now that the whole squad start playing, isn't it, Michael? Which is what we've seen today with 6 changes.
I think that was always the case, coming back from the World Cup. The amount of players that City had over there is always going to be difficult when you have a little bit of rest and long periods without playing in sort of rhythm and tempo. So I think it's worked really well. There's another game coming up as well with Southampton. So I think everybody getting those minutes going into Manchester Derby, Champions League starts to come around, the more serious games. So there's a real important time, isn't it? We're in a transfer window as well. So we'll see how that adapts. But I think he's got to be delighted with obviously that performance. I think it was a mixed performance at Chelsea. Seen some really good, some okay, and I think he would have looked for a more dominating one. I think that's certainly got it. It
really was, and we came in here at half-time 3-0. Brownie was hoping maybe we didn't score for his prediction, and it was going that way though. But then the fourth and final goal and a brace for Riyad Mahrez, which means this season he scored 4 goals in 3 games against Chelsea. He scored every time we played them. First of all, talk us through the penalty and an emphatic finish.
Yeah, it was a great run from Phil. Obviously Koulibaly's brought him down. Phil looks as if he's going to score. I think Phil actually wanted to take the penalty. It looks as if he was wanting to get his second goal, but great composure. And Riyad was fantastic today. And said at half-time, Brown was saying about the confidence that he's got. How he looks such a different player. When his confidence is high, and it was unbelievable finish right into the roof of the net.
Confidence, I think it's in any line of work really, but there are certain players, aren't there, that kind of need that little bit of kind of rhythm to find that confidence and kind of see them at the best. But then there's other players, you look at Bernardo Silva today, Esme, who I just thought was brilliant in that midfield. With that energy he brings us is so important.
He's great. He just zips about the place so well. He breaks up play, and I think he really goes under the radar for what he does in terms of winning the ball back. I know people talk about his work ethic in the press and chasing down, but he makes so many tackles. I'd love to see his stats on ball recoveries, because he wins it back so often, just nipping around the heels of the other team's midfielders. And it's just because he's so intelligent. He reads the game so well, and then in possession he just keeps the ball moving, keeps the tempo high, and yeah, I just absolutely love watching him play. He's brilliant.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Another player that was so great to see, I think he got 40 minutes in the end, Calvin Phillips. And what did you make of that second half performance? It feels like the first time we've got to see him for a chunk of time in a bit, Michael.
Listen, I've seen him from a youngster at Leeds United when he was coming through, how good and the potential that he had. Talked about the positions he can play, what he can bring, and I think that experience of coming to City has been a slight change for him. When you've got those injuries as well coming into this dressing room, I feel going forward he'd be really important for City because he can play those different roles, and he's a great character around. So he won't sulk, he won't if he doesn't play. I think he wants to still develop. So I think it's important he gets some minutes, and I think that was a really good amount. We talked about a half, didn't we? But for going into Southampton, I think we're going to really see an interesting performance from him. It'll be one that we've waited for such a long period of time. Somebody asked me, was it a waste of money, us buying Calvin Phillips, because of the return of what he had? And I looked at him and I just thought, really? Do you know, is that where it's come to when people ask those questions? And I just said, wait and see.
Yeah. And you said there, you followed him from when he was young, coming through Leeds. What is his potential? How good do you think he can be in this city? I'm so excited to see him.
I just think if you look at him as a full international, so he was playing for Leeds United, then he went into, and did he get Player of the Year, I think, for England?
Yeah.
So I think it tells you everything with what he had. But his injuries have not helped him. Bellingham's come along. So he was a mainstay for England internationally.
Yeah.
That's what we've got to understand. And I think, I think he's got everything. He's going to be tough because of, look at the midfield that City have. But Ilkay Gundogan, how long will he last? He's getting a little bit older. So I think for a period of time, we could have a really strong midfield. It could be a Rodri and a Phillips. With a De Bruyne. I think there's many ways to do it. If you want to get extra support at the top of the pitch, you might need a little bit more defensively minded midfield players.
Another player who, we always speak about our striker who's usually on the pitch, Erling Haaland, when he plays. I think it's time we spoke about the man who did start, got his goal as well. What impressed you most about Julian Alvarez today, Paul? Because,
his work rate
is
sensational. We're talking about Bernardo Silva. I'd love to see Alvarez's stats and his running stats, because he just doesn't stop, and he must be an absolute nuisance for centre-halves and goalkeepers to play against, because it doesn't give them a minute's peace. I'm delighted he got his goal. But I'm delighted he got 90 minutes under his belt as well, because after the elation of winning the World Cup and being away for a bit, he wants to get back and get on the pitch, which has been difficult because of the form Erling's been in. So to see him get his goal and get 90 minutes under his belt, I thought he was outstanding. Talk about starting the high press, he sets it off all the time.
Well, that's the thing with him and Phil, it kind of, them both pushing at that end of the pitch, and we've seen it really kind of put Chelsea under pressure. Do you think that's something we'll probably need more of in the second half of the season as well, Paul?
Yeah, because that's how Pep wants to play. He wants to press high up the pitch, and whether it's Julian, whether it's Erling, whoever's in there, or both of them sometimes. But he'll be delighted. Everybody since he's came to the club can't speak highly enough of him as a person, how hard he trains and how hard he works. So it's great for him to get his goal.
Not bad having a World Cup winner in the squad as well. Looking at the other end of the pitch, as main in a position that you know well, great to see Laporte come back in. We weren't really tested too much, but I just think Laporte is so key when he plays, and obviously alongside Kanji as well. Yeah,
his distribution's great. He's so good on the ball. He plays lovely lofted passes. There was one in the first half that he sort of swung, curved down the line to Cole Palmer, who maybe should have scored. I think Kepa managed to sort of poke it just wide. But I think he's such an important player, and he did well off the ball as well, sweeping up and getting his foot in on a couple of loose passes. So he's such an important player, and it's just good for City to have so many great options in that position.
Absolutely. Well, listen, that's us through into the fourth round of the FA Cup, and we know we're either going to be playing Oxford or Arsenal in that tie, and that will be right here at the Etihad Stadium. I think that'll be the last weekend in January. We now turn our attention, Michael, to middle of the week. Southampton, Carabao Cup. Struggling for form at the moment. What are your thoughts as we move into that game? And do you think we'll see a similar starting 11?
I think you would think there was going to be changes again. I think we'll be all looking to see for Manchester United, is there any giveaway, any telltale signs? But I think the squads are going to be used, and then you've obviously managed that load with a 3-day build-up yet again into the Manchester derby. But it's a Southampton side who got a new manager. They've struggled. In his first game before the break, Liverpool, they did okay at times. They've come back, and then it's not gone so well. Questions are being asked about them. Can they bring some players in as well? So they're not in a great place, and the last probably game they won is Manchester City. But I do feel again, it's more of the same. Use that squad, be really positive and professional, and go really quick with that tempo. And I think it's City's cup, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's where we need to put our name back on it. That's it. We need to put our name back on that cup, indeed. And I think the players have been speaking about we need to put together that winning run that we've been so used to seeing in previous seasons, and we seem to be starting it now. That's going to be key going into the derby, but then the big one at Old Trafford, Paul. It's shaping up to be a tantalising fixture. They've hit a bit of form. How are you feeling looking ahead to that game?
I'll go for another 4-0. I'm getting it done quite easily. Look, it's going to. They have hit good form at the minute. But I watched their game the other night there, and I wasn't that impressed with them. I think they've sort of been stuttering over the line the last couple of games without getting results, without playing well. But they're going to have to play well against us next week. It'll be interesting what Ten Hag does, because his whole philosophy and coming out in the press about how he wants to press teams high up the pitch, energy and everything else. I think teams that do that against us could be in trouble.
Yes.
But does he go against everything he's coming out and talking about and and sit in and look to hit us in the break, where they have caused us problems before. So it'll be interesting to see.
If he does go and tries to stick to the philosophy that he wants to play, and as Pep does, you know, they don't change the way he plays, you guess that's probably going to lean more into City's hands. And you think about that derby at Old Trafford last season, it'd be amazing to see something like that again, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. And I've just got a feeling that because things are going really well for them at the minute, that they might come out and not change how they play. But I think they could be in big trouble if that happens.
We'll, of course, be hoping, you know, some of the big guns will be on the pitch. You know, Kevin De Bruyne arrested today, maybe a little 45 minutes against Southampton, Esme, but our big players are so key in them games, aren't they? I mean, you played in a derby as well recently. How important are they?
Massive. And obviously De Bruyne's maybe not been on his best form recently, but he's one of those players who, if you throw him into a big game, he will produce. He's another one who takes the weight of the game on his shoulders and acts as a complete catalyst for the rest of the team if things aren't going too well. But I mean, you look at our squad, you could put out 2 starting 11s, we were saying, who would be stronger than pretty much every other team in the league. So anyone who plays is going to be a top player, and we're so lucky to have that depth.
Couldn't agree more. What will be the most important thing City need to do to try and come away with 3 points at Old Trafford, do you reckon, Michael?
I think that little bit of concentration. Don't leave gaps. The counter-attack will be very important for Pep Guardiola for sure, regarding just having that structure, controlling the possession. I mean, recently at Old Trafford it's been so comfortable in possession. So it's about them. We know that they're not amazing at getting the ball back in possession. Some good attacking players that can cause you some problems. Defensively, still question marks as well. Down the sides, maybe, is one of those areas. We've seen him use more pace and tempo in those positions in a Manchester derby, Pep Guardiola, rather than more of a build-up, come inside with a slower sort of press from the front. So I think it's a wonderful game, and you know, Manchester United doing much better. I was there, covered them last week. It was all happy. They were playing very nice football in a game that they should have won against Nottingham Forest. So I think it's a great game for City. If those players are going to be looking for it, and I was talking about in the week, a Phil Foden who knows so much about Rico Lewis will be looking, then those senior players that we've talked about. And there's one other, isn't there?
Well, let's just have a quick word about that.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, how much do you think Erling Haaland will be looking forward to taking to the pitch at Old Trafford, and you know, what could potentially we see happen? Do you think, Paul?
Well, hopefully another hat-trick again.
That'd be lovely.
Look, he's sensational. You know, I keep laughing and joking. His dad saying he's a bit of a freak, but the amount of goals he's got already, and he'll be looking at you. Not just next week, you'll be looking at Southampton and thinking, do you know what, I can add to my record here.
Yeah.
I can get more goals. And then, you know, we've seen what he done here at the Etihad against them earlier on in the season, you know, so more of the same. They'll be worried.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul, do you know about his record as well? He's not finishing all the games. Yeah. He's missing certain ones. I mean, it's ridiculous why he could actually go and score, you know.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see what his actual, this season, the minutes per goal.
Do you think as well, I mean, because there's been this constant conversation as well, there's been bits, you know, where, you know, we're trying to adapt our game to obviously to kind of make sure you get the best out of Haaland, but in the same breath as well, you want Haaland to adapt to Manchester City's game. To say he's not even really been here, well, what, 6 full months, what do you think we could be seeing after he's had a year to bed into a team? Because you'll all know as well, having a first year with your teammates and at a club does a lot to then set you up. Do you think that this is just the beginning?
Well, did you see Kevin De Bruyne? Do you know, when he first came and he was getting carried away, he was getting like a dozen goals, and De Bruyne straight away said, well, he still needs to do more.
Yeah.
He needs to improve on this and that. And I still see, it's hard to say, but actually in his game, the all-round game, when he's not scoring that goal, how can he improve, I think, for the team? That's something that we talked about Rodri, didn't we? How he's got better with Pep Guardiola. And I think, do they adapt, and how did it, I don't know, Paul, as a striker, what
we're talking about him, that he's still adapting, and there's still maybe 50% more to come, and he's got 26, 27 goals already.
Yeah.
You know, so he could completely blow all records out the window.
So does he not
season.
need to do that? It's just literally concentrate on that goal return, do you know, like, because will that take something away?
He wants to learn. I know that for a fact. And
would you feel if he drops in, though, and gets involved a touch more, would that take that? Because when it comes alive, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know, like, there's a certain thing, it's flat,
I think
and then it just goes.
If you're playing as an out-and-out 9, you have to drop off. You have to drop in at times and hold the ball up. You have to go short to go long. You constantly keep the centre half. So you'll know yourself, if you're up against a forward that's on the move all the time, it's a nightmare.
You just sit still for a minute, wouldn't you?
Yeah, just stay where you are. So, and I think previously when I've seen him at Dortmund, he has just been that number 9 that's been standing up there. No,
He has to link more.
Yep, and the way we play, he has to link a little bit more there. But if he is going to drop a little deeper and bring that into his game, which I still think he's still good at it, don't get me wrong.
Yes, yeah.
But that's going to leave space for him when he runs in behind as well, because a lot of teams are sitting deep. So if he's just going to play up against them, he's not going to have the space in behind or down the sides to run into.
So exciting. Well, of course, we're going to be with you for the derby, and then Esme, you're going to be back as well for Matchday Live for the Southampton game against Carabao in the Carabao Cup. Just final word in the derby, because obviously we were here a few weeks ago for your derby here at the Etihad with a record attendance. In the change room after that Southampton game, does the mood? You approach every game the same, I know, but does that mood just slightly change for a derby? What is it like in the players' dressing room and in those few days that will be building up to the derby?
Yeah, I feel like training does get a little bit more competitive. Maybe the small-sided games at the end a bit more feisty, a bit more arguing with the refs, Gaz. But I think you can definitely sense a mood shift in the change room before the game. Everyone feels so up for it, so focused and really, really excited, because you just want to get one over on your rivals and have all the bragging rights.
Well, fingers crossed we'll have them bragging rights come the end of that game. So, as we said, games are thick and fast. Southampton next in the middle of the week, Carabao Cup, and then the derby at Old Trafford in the Premier League. Matchday Live with you every step of the way, and we are through to the fourth round in the FA Cup with that 4-0 win against Chelsea. Always an absolute pleasure. Massive thank you to my brilliant guest today. Love today's show with Paul Dickov, Esme Morgan, and of course Michael Brown. And thank you to all of you. I'll be back in a week or so. Until then, have a lovely Sunday evening. Have a great week, and come on City.
Je me rappelle vraiment pas quand j'étais vraiment petit. Et je me rappelle à partir de 4-5 ans, je jouais tout le temps. Donc voilà, il restait que moi et mon frère. Et moi, je savais que j'avais le foot et je savais que je pouvais faire quelque chose. Donc je me suis donné plus les moyens.
It's Kennedy who headed it, claims of a handball. Referee says no, City players absolutely certain. Play goes on and they've scored anyway. Kelly again. Managed to get the cross in once more, and there's Coombs, and that's 1-1.
Jacko! Oh, that's the best of the bunch! He has saved the best till last. Edin Dzeko with a sumptuous goal.